When I say we're out of order, it's not a criticism and it's not a judgment, because what I realize is so many of us just don't know. Where are we learning not only what it means to be a woman, but what it means to honor your body? Not just take care of it with exercise and diet, but honor the way it looks like, honor the way it develops, honor the way it unfolds, know what's gonna happen to you, you know? Where are we learning how to honor our spirit? Honor your spirit. Learn how to trust your intuition. Know what that inner voice feels like. Know what it feels like when somebody is dishonoring you. Where are we learning how to process our emotions? Sadness, grief, sorrow, fear, anger, loneliness. It's important for everybody, but it's really important for us as women and women of color, because when we don't have this information, then we begin to accommodate and tolerate dishonoring situations and people. But more important, we begin to deny these things, and that's when we get into the drinking and the drugs and the overeating and just bad behavior and wrongdoing. So don't hear me, I hope you won't hear me as saying that we're out of order as a criticism or a judgment or beating us up. We're doing the best with the information we have, but we don't have the information that we need. We just don't have it. And it's not in the church. We're not getting it in the church, and we're not getting it in the home. So we're just kind of out there.
In case you might be wondering, why is it so noisy? I'm sitting outside in January in the heart of the city here in Maryland, and there are not a lot of places you can go in the heart of Maryland in the city where it will be quiet. But I want to address a question that I received on this channel, and I receive it from time to time. And the question is, why don't you hold black men accountable, Naka? Why don't you hold black men accountable? And that's a great question. And, you know, one of the reasons why I do not hold, well, I do hold black men accountable in my personal life, but on the internet, the reason why I do not make content that holds black men accountable is because I just started to understand men, black men, a few years ago. So I wanted to highlight here that a lot of women do not understand men. This is normalized in our society. Many black women can get up into their 40s, maybe even 50s, and never understand men. However, on the flip side, men oftentimes understand women. Oftentimes men have to understand women because they are the pursuers of us. And if they want, you know, going back to like high school, if you want to get a girlfriend, you want to have a first date, you got to know how to talk to her, you know, how to court her, how to make her feel comfortable. A lot of men inherently know how to talk to women. A lot of men inherently understand women. On the flip side, because as women, we are the ones being pursued. Most of our lives, we sit back and we allow the man to chase us, or, you know, whatever it is. And that leads to a disparity. And I can say that it's not until my mid to late 30s that I really started to understand men in a deeper way. So I don't feel qualified to make content holding men accountable. I have spent my entire life as a woman. So that I feel qualified to do, which is holding black women accountable. So I wanted to address that. I thought that was actually an important question, and that does come up. And there are content creators who do that. You know, there are content creators who can kind of speak to both sides. But for the most part, you'll notice that a lot of content creators will sort of lean toward one or the other. You know, there's not a lot. That's actually a skill, to be able to sort of make content where you're holding men and women accountable. Most people have a niche and they sort of stay in their lane. So my niche is about black women. I stay in my lane. I try not to come out of my lane too much because I can't speak to things that I don't know deeply So that is why from my channel, you probably will not hear a lot of accountability for men. Cynthia G holds black men accountable, but that is a very dangerous lane, in my opinion, holding black men accountable as a woman, because in my opinion, and I've spoken about this before, a lot of what Cynthia G does is highlight the worst men, the worst black men in the community. And I would say that is not holding black men accountable. That is just highlighting the worst case scenarios. So yeah, I wanted to address that. Also wanted to address some rebranding. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've been posting about my rebranding. And I'm going to tie this into a Iyanla Vanzant talking about black women being out of order. So I'm going somewhere with this. But so when I got on YouTube, this was about 1.5 years ago when I started making videos, I was saying that I make things visible for black women. I make content for black women. I'm no longer saying that. I'm now saying that I make the invisible visible about black women. I make the invisible visible about black women. I make things visible about black women, not for. And the reason why I rebranded, is because a lot of women, when you're making accountability content, a lot of women don't see the content that is for them. They may not necessarily see the value in it. Some do, and shout out to all the black women who watch me and comment on my videos. But unfortunately, not all black women are going to see my content as being for them. So my rebrand is if you want to know what is going on in the world of black women, particularly as it pertains to things that, topics that black women don't normally talk about, you can come here. And we will be talking here about black women. And I will be making content about black women. Hopefully it's for black women. That's my hope. But it's more about. And that is huge. It sounds minor. Like, oh, that's just a semantics. It's not. Because I was struggling to coming up with content at one point, thinking that I needed to pivot and make all these videos to appease black women, to try to get them to enjoy my content. And that was very difficult. I don't know how to make sisterhood content. I'm not going to say I don't know. It's very challenging for me to make that type of content that's going to draw in the masses of black women. I have not figured that out. I do know how to speak to my own experiences. And I enjoy accountability content that I enjoy actually discussing the things that black women and women at large don't normally talk about. That's what I enjoy. And so, yeah, I wanted to highlight that. I think that's very important. A lot of times, when women hear a woman holding other women accountable, her first thought or her first defense is to say, what about the men? Why don't you say this about men? Or why don't you point out something that men are doing wrong? And I think that is, although I understand that, and I hear that is a complaint that men often have about women, is that, and I'm guilty of this too, like in an argument, you might be arguing with a woman and then she will immediately say, well, what about you? Will you do this? And women do that all the time on this channel where, they make comments and they're like, well, why aren't you saying this about black men? And again, one of the things I know is that if you're making content for everybody, you're making content for nobody. If you're trying to talk about everybody, you're talking about nobody. So I had to become very clear on who am I talking about and who's my audience. And that is one of the ways in which this year, 2024, I have rebranded. There's some more rebranding also that I'll talk about later. A lot of men are raised by women. So there have been a lot of men, a lot of black men are raised by single moms. And that also is another reason why men oftentimes tend to know more about women than the reverse. It's because many men were raised by, either a single mom or their mom was heavily involved. I'm not saying their fathers weren't, but we all know the disparity in the community. And so because there are so many men who are raised by women, that also leads to men understanding women a lot more deeply than we understand men. That is why someone like, say, Mr. Let Go, as I understand his story, he's a black man and he holds, black women accountable. But from what I understand in his story, he was raised by a single mom. And so he seems to really understand women. So, and you guys, I am actually so passionate about black women, believe it or not, that I was going to study black women. My goal at one point in time was to get a PhD, and I was going to literally study black women. I had a specific focus, but so I am committed to the work that I do, whether I get a lot of views or whether I don't get a lot of views. It is this lane that I'm in is something that I'm deeply passionate about. And let's go back to Iyanla Vanzant. Iyanla Vanzant said that black women are out of order. And when she said this, there were a lot of black women who, were upset. And they did not understand why she would say this. And so the voice over that you heard in the beginning of this video was Iyanla Vanzant explaining why she said that black women are out of order. I agree. Now, it's not to say that men aren't out of order. It's not to say, because again, this is what women do. Oh, well, you're saying black women are out of order. But what about the men? What about this culture and this race? Okay, maybe everybody's out of order. That could be. But right now we're talking about black women. This is what we're talking about now. And what I'm going to be doing, and this is something I realized that, let me just give you an example, which is when I first got on YouTube, I was talking about the invisible black woman. A lot of people didn't understand what I was talking about. So I made a video called The Invisible Black Woman. And you can go back on my channel if you want to see it. Then I realized that I never actually explained the invisible black woman the entire video. Like the entire video, I never really fully explained what this woman, this invisible woman, who is she? So after realizing this, I decided to show you all what I was talking about. And so I'm a firm believer in not necessarily always just telling you that I felt invisible or this person is invisible, but let me show you who she is. And so most of the videos that I have put out on my channel in many ways have exposed the invisible black woman. And I'll kind of go into that later, but I just wanted to say that I'm very much interested in showing more than even telling. And so just stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing a series that I'm going to be calling Uncovered, and I'm going to be talking about the uncovered black woman. And I'm really excited about it, so just stay tuned for that. But I kind of think in terms of like series. And so for those of you who've been following me, all of my day ones, you know that I've actually had different series on this channel. And so I try to sort of, the way I think is very much in groups in terms of like, okay, now I'm on to this thing. I like to explore different topics. I started off with the black male gaze. Then I moved to the invisible black woman. These are different sort of series on my channel. If you look back, I also did twerking. So I did a series of videos about twerking. Then I moved into feminism. And then now I'm going to be talking about the uncovered Black woman. So there's a quote that I'm going to read here. I believe it's by Steve Harvey. But it says, your gift is the thing you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. Your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. Again, for me to make sisterhood content, that would take great effort. Like beyond me. For me to make content that's going to have the masses of Black women wanting to subscribe to me, I'm not sure how to do that. But I know how to do this. And so, yeah. So some announcements in terms of rebranding is Curated Legacy is a multimedia company. And so Curated Legacy, my business, is 1 year old, turned 1 year old like a few months ago or so. One of the things that I could do here is I could pretend like I have everything all put together and I'm so perfect, and or I could be transparent about the process of starting a business, the process of being a YouTuber, the process of wearing so many hats. And the latter is what I'm choosing to do. And so the reason why the rebranding is so important is because I don't know why I didn't think of that. I just don't know why I didn't think of the multimedia. I make videos, I make content, even on Instagram. I write books. I have two books. One of them is with my mom. I produce my own newsletter, which if you're on my email list, you check your spam, you should have received a newsletter. That is multimedia. And it may not be mainstream media, but it's definitely Black woman media. And so I'm just really excited that I've been getting some clarity around what I'm actually doing. And sometimes it's not in your face. You might think that but you might not be as clear. And then also how it lands, like how what I'm doing lands on others. So there's a lot of things when it comes to business and YouTube that is out of your control. And so I'm just starting to realize the impact and what I have actually been doing. And so the way my rebranding is that before I was saying Curated Legacy is a coaching and consulting company. And what I was actually describing is what I do, not what the business actually is. And I wasn't really able to say what the business actually is. And now I'm like, Curated Legacy is a multimedia company, because that is the bulk of what I do, is produce media, whether it be through a book or a video or a newsletter. But I offer coaching and consulting as a service. So I have an extensive coaching background of about 8 years working for different companies and organizations. And what I did was I packaged those skills into my own coaching and consulting. So again, Curated Legacy is my business, and under that umbrella, I offer coaching and consulting. So if you guys want to get started and grow on YouTube, or if you want to write your own book and be a self-published author, you can do that. Just reach out to me on my website. The link for that is in the description box. And I need to become better about promoting myself. And so one of the things about this whole journey is that you are the lighting person, the camera person, the makeup person, the editor, the marketer, the content, the script writer. I mean, even though there's AI and all that, but like, you're literally doing it all in the beginning. And so, that's why things are not perfect over here. But I do appreciate, despite things not being perfect and maybe sometimes me not being as clear, that you guys keep tuning in. So please do look in the description box and click those links that you see there to learn more about me and everything I have to offer. And yeah, I'm going to conclude with Black women, we're still out of order. And I'm going to be talking about the ways in which, not only just talking about us being out of order, but maybe perhaps some things we can consider to get back in alignment as a people. It doesn't mean all of us are, some of us obviously have it together, but I think by and large, when we look at what's going on out in the world and the different things we see on the news or things we see in our community, things we hear about, I think it's inherently clear that we are, out of order. And my hope is that right here on YouTube, this channel can be a place where you all can tune in once a week, if not more, and learn not only about what Black women think. I use clips oftentimes of other Black women in my content. So my hope is that you can learn from and more so get into the mindset of the average Black woman. So comment below, let me know what you think. Please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, click those links in the description box. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.